choice for true alternative music. What's up, how you doing? This is Cody. Hope you're having a good time. With me in the studio right now, a very special band all the way from Columbus, Ohio, the one and only 21 Pilots. With me is Josh and Tyler. How you guys doing, man?
Good. Thanks so much for having us.
Awesome. Now, where exactly, going into the band 21 Pilots, where did the name 21 Pilots come from?
That's a good question. A lot of times we'll run into bands that we'll ask, what does their band name mean? And more times than not, they say it just sounded good, or just Google well, or the URL was available. All those things. We like to take advantage of every outlet possible and make it mean something. So obviously the band name is a significant thing that you take wherever you're going. It's kind of a long story, but the quick version is I was studying a theater class in college at Ohio State, and one of the plays that we were learning about was called All My Sons, and just the real basic version of it. The main character was a father who was supplying airplane parts for the war, and he found out that the parts that he was making in his warehouse were faulty. So he had to come to this kind of crossroads decision thing that he had to make. Do I recall the parts or do I send the parts out? And what he ends up doing is sending the parts out because he's afraid to taint his name. He's afraid he's not going to make money, all these justifications that he had. And because he sends the parts out, 21 Pilots died. So at the end of the play, he's trying to justify, to his daughter, who found out about his decision, that you have no idea what it's like to have to provide for a family and to uphold a name and a business and all this stuff. And he actually ends up committing suicide at the end of the play. So how do we apply that to what a band and what people, individuals, do with their life? The band name represents a decision that needs to be made. And whether it be as a band or as individuals, we know that, and we're constantly reminded within the band name that, the right decision may be a hard decision. And just to continue to make the right decisions, whether that be, doing what you don't feel like doing, basically, is kind of the underlying theme of the whole thing. And that just requires working hard. So that's kind of what the band name means in a nutshell.
Very cool. Now, where did you guys go about, how did you meet and how did you decide to create the band 21 Pilots?
Josh, why don't you answer that one?
We met in prison, probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a thing where, we both were in there for just stupid reasons. Tyler killed someone, and I was loitering too long outside the local mall. So, I mean, both of those are just kind of dumb reasons to go to jail. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, how we truly met was we were actually on a train together, and we didn't know each other. And the train got in a wreck, and everyone died except for us. So we're like, we should probably start a band.
Yeah, we should start a band in honor of us being alive.
Right. That wasn't that was the first thing that came to your head, not like, I should call my family. The first thought was, we should form a band.
Let me find the survivor.
I called his parents, and he called my parents just to let them know what was happening. But first I was just like, hey, I'm here with your son. He's okay, but we're starting a band. So.
Wow, we truly met. I mean, all those were jokes. Our parents met at a Dixie Chicks concert, and that's not true either. It's funny that you ask how we meet, because one of the things that we like to do when we travel around playing live shows is we try to make up on the spot the story of how we met. And those are a few of our favorite ones that we've come up with before. Sometimes people get offended, because you never know when someone has a family member in prison or died in a train.
Or they were the only survivors of a train accident.
Yeah, or actually like the Dixie Chicks. So, it's a risk that we're willing to take. So that's the answer to that question.
Well, yeah, I'll just tell really quick. I'll tell the true story. Is I was good friends with, there was an original drummer of the band, and I was good friends with him, and I met Tyler through him, and then Tyler and I became friends really quickly, and after probably a year and a half, things just kind of worked out where the other drummer had things going on and had to leave, and we were able to start playing music together, and it worked out really well.
Cool. And then we went to gym.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was
just gotta make it fun.
Yeah. And how long have you guys been playing music?
Individually?
Hmm?
I know that Josh hears this a lot, because I talk about it a lot, but growing up, for me, life was all about sports, and basketball in particular. And so when I was, all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, that's what my life was. It wasn't until the middle of high school that I started kind of dabbling with a piano, and my parents didn't really know what to make of it at first. Thought there was something wrong with me, but then I kept on learning how to play. Ultimately, I made a decision coming out of high school, going into college, that I wanted to pursue music and not basketball. And my parents were very supportive of that. And so now I'm just traveling around, sharing songs with people who don't really know us, and it's one of the most fun things ever. So I haven't been playing very long. Josh probably has been playing longer than I have, though. Josh plays the drums.
Yeah, I'm Josh. I play the drums. And I've been playing a little over 10 years, I think. In middle school, I started skateboarding and listening to, like, whatever was on Tony Hawk video games and stuff, so like punk rock music and hip-hop and stuff like that. And so then I started, the more I skateboarded, the more I found myself skateboarding to the local music store and teaching myself how to play the drums in there, and I fell in love with it ever since then. I've been playing every day since I was like 12, turning 13. So.
Cool. Is there any like artists in particular that influenced you guys whenever you started coming up with the way that you play your music?
I'd say that probably the most important artists in our lives are probably the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, and Fergie.
Of course.
No, it's just like a huge, I mean, there's no, I think for both Tyler and I, there's no
Yeah, I was joking.
one artist. Yeah. They are huge inspirations personally, but
As people.
yeah, as human individuals. It spans across, I mean, I know that's not the answer that you want, but I mean, I don't know. There's so many different styles of music that we enjoy listening to.
Yeah, and people ask, why do you write the style of music that you do? And our music is just kind of maybe fill some people in. It's very eclectic. It comes from all directions. There's really no maybe rhyme or reason to the style, and it's hard. It's still hard.
Well, it does rhyme.
Oh yeah, it does. It'll rhyme.
Yeah.
But the reason is where you lose yourself. But my mom will say, Tyler, what kind of music is it? And I'm like, Mom, I don't know. And truly, we don't know what it is. I'm sure some people could come up with a few titles for it. But you'd be surprised how many artists and bands don't do this, but we actually write songs that we like to listen to. A lot of times you'll run into like maybe a heavy metal rocker or screamo kid who says, actually, I really like John Mayer. I just write screamo music. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So all the styles that we appreciate and enjoy, whether that be rap, rock, dance, experimental, an indie style or pop in general, there's elements of that in almost every song, hopefully. And so that's kind of, we just draw inspiration from everywhere, but at the same time, my history as a musician is in my parents' basement, learning how to play the piano, and not really going out and seeing music or hearing music as much as just creating something that I like to listen to, and then ultimately coming out of that cave and saying, here's a song I wrote, and wondering whether or not people are going to actually enjoy it. I think we got lucky a little bit that it wasn't totally awful. So.
Very cool. Now, your sound incorporates a lot of spoken word stuff, like rap and things like that. When did you decide that using spoken word over singing was something that you wanted to incorporate into your sound?
Well, I think Josh and I both have a decent amount of hip-hop influence. I mean, it's just, let's be honest, some white kids like to listen to hip-hop, and we're not afraid to say it. And, but there's a difference between listening to hip-hop and then actually trying to do a spoken word or rap type of thing. And kind of how that came about was, I had a good friend of mine who really slaved over his lyrics, and I was more of a emotion-based writer, which is just kind of like saying whatever you were feeling at the moment and just filling in your melodies. And so I felt like maybe I wasn't putting enough time into my lyrics. So I started writing poetry and making sure that I, was honing in what it is I wanted to say as a musician. And so I would have these poems, and then I'd try to fit it to a song, and there's almost always too many words. If you ever look in the inside of a CD and it shows the lyrics, it's a 5-minute song, but then you realize there's only like 7 sentences of lyrics, and it's surprising to see that, wow, there's only that many lyrics in that song. So when you're writing poetry, you like to make it a few paragraphs or whatever it is, and then trying to fit that one thought into one song is very difficult. So I found myself just saying it on time, and quickly realized that was rap, and swept it under the rug and didn't want anything to do with it because I thought that was illegal to do. And my younger brother Zach actually was kind of the guy he was one of the only people who knew that I was kind of experimenting with that or kind of honing that craft, because I really did like to deliver in that way. And I remember one of my first shows, he asked, "Hey, are you going to be doing any of that rapping?" And I looked at him like he was nuts and said, "No, of course not. That's hidden. I don't do that." He's like, "Well, let me know when you decide to rap at your shows and maybe I'll come out." And I was like, "Oh gosh." So then, ever since then, I've been rapping at every show in some sense. And when you have a lot to say, it's one of the easiest genres to be in when you have a lot that you want to get out. So I don't claim to have street cred or anything like that. A lot of times when you hear rap, it's very diluted, or it's got a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth when they hear the word rap and that style of music. So we try to challenge that stereotype and try to make it thoughtful and mean something at the same time. So, and I think some people enjoy it. I like it.
I like it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, high five.
Can you put some reverb on that? Post edit.
It's very resounding clap.
Yeah.
It's because we met in prison.
Exactly.
That's one of the first things we learned.
How to do.
Yeah, let's just go past that.
Alright. What do you guys think is like the hardest thing as a musician right now? Is it touring? Is it promoting your music? Is it composing and writing music? Or what do you think is like one of the bigger challenges to, I guess, stay afloat as a band?
Well, I think it's different I think it's different for every artist. People struggle in different areas, and sometimes it'll be this kind of effect where, like, if you struggle with writing, then you might come up with some more material, and then when you're trying to tour, nobody's gonna like it. So, I don't really know.
Yeah, all components really have to do with each other.
Yeah, they're all kind of intertwined.
I mean, Josh and I have had a conversation. What do we like best? Performing or writing? And it's really a toss-up. And each thing fulfills a certain void in us personally. I'd say the hardest thing is getting to a point where you are able, because you're not going to get away from it. If you're a local band and you're trying to branch out or you're trying to tour, you're going to play in front of no one every once in a while. And it's just going to happen. Not only that, but there's going to be situations where you don't have the proper sound equipment at the venue in which you were booked. And so those are just challenges that you need to learn to get over and play as if you're playing in front of 3,000 people when there's maybe a couple people there. And that's just something that you can learn in time. And I would say probably the hardest thing is getting people to surround the music, that buy into the vision and buy into the direction and actually can do something to further it. And it takes some weeding out. It takes some trial and error who actually is going to deliver. And then the other thing, I mean, I've been doing this for very long, but the few years that I've been doing it, I've just learned so much. As a band, every band has their one opportunity that they're always talking about. Oh, well, we're talking to this guy who's out in LA, or oh, we're talking to this producer from New York. And a lot of bands, and we've fallen to this as well, a lot of bands will put that one opportunity, that one thing that they're talking about, they'll put that in the forefront of their vision or their site really, and they'll put it right in the middle, and that's kind of the whole goal. Is this guy, everything's hindering on this one guy that emailed us about an opportunity to play in front of whatever, and if you put that opportunity at the front of your vision as a band, I mean, over and over again, promises don't get fulfilled, and what are you going to do when that promise is taken away from you? So when that promise is taken away from you, and it was right in the front of you, a lot of bands will wake up the next morning and go, well, what the heck are we doing? That was our shot, that was our chance, that was our opportunity. So something we've learned just through having to go through it is every opportunity and every kind of, a bite here, like someone's interested in the music here, or someone from the industry wants to do this, or you have an opportunity here, keep it on the side of your vision. Keep it on the wings, so that when that thing is stripped away, you still have what it is you're going for. Just convince yourself you're going to be doing this by yourself, independently, for 10 years, and when you convince yourself of that, then it's not going to be that big of a deal when your big break falls apart. It doesn't matter because you're still playing music for, 20 people in a bar, but that's what you want to do because you feel like you're saying something that those 20 people should hear. So that's something that we've learned as a band. Cool.
Now you guys are currently touring, it's the Lookout Below tour, and how long has it been going on?
Started in the beginning of December, and what is it? Like the 13th?
The beginning of it? Well, the last show is Saturday, 17th. I think it's just like, what was it?
Like
The first or the second?
Yeah, like a 3-week tour.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So.
Are there any highlights of the tour so far? Like any favorite places that you've played?
Highlights, yeah. There's always highlights.
Yeah, I think like, I think for us, highlights are like more like kind of just strange and awkward moments. So like,
Yeah.
there's in one night in particular, we played. It was kind of just like, actually it was supposed to be an off night, but we ended up kind of like finding a show in Louisiana, and I think as a result of just throwing it together, and there was no promoting or anything, there ended up maybe being 10 people there, and something for us, like Tyler already hit on, is that we personally like to. I've always said ever since I started playing drums that I'll play the same for 10 people as I will for 10,000 people. So it's kind of funny because like we're just like going nuts for 10 people, and like there's like they're all just sitting at the bar.
Yeah,
like,
it's
their
not
backs
even,
are
it's
turned
not even
to us.
10 engaged people. They're 10 people turned around in their drink.
They just happen to be there to drink alcohol. we just happen to be there playing music. So it was just that was a funny experience, and we're just kind of just going nuts for nobody who cares, and we get out of there, and it's kind of like we played late, so then all the bars are like closing and people are leaving, and everybody's just kind of like drunk out of their minds, and all of a sudden we're loading up our gear and we hear across the street there's like 6 girls just yelling and screaming. It turns out that there was like this huge fight that these girls were having.
It was a girl fight.
Yeah, it was a girl fight.
So when you think highlight of a tour, obviously the first thing we're going to think of is a girl fight.
It's a girl fight. So that's, so like we're hearing like bottles being smashed, and all of a sudden like we walk over, and the other band that we're traveling with, Farewell Fighter, bass player, rips his shirt off and runs in between these girls fighting.
Yeah. And they
Do
scream at
your
him.
impersonation of the girl.
They're like, "What are you doing? Put your shirt back on. This is a girl fight." So, I'll never forget that. Seeing him flash out of nowhere with his shirt off trying to break up a girl fight. And then it's just, those are things that you'll always remember. And in that show where no one was watching, Josh actually did a backflip off of a table. And it just goes to show, we're going to put everything into every show. It doesn't matter who it's in front of. And ultimately, hopefully, it'll all pay off and we'll be able to look back and be like, hey, remember that girl fight town?
Yeah.
So.
Very cool. Now, you guys are playing at the Marquee in Tulsa
Yes.
very soon. And this tour goes on, I think, another week, as you said?
Yeah, it ends Saturday, so it's just the end of this week, and then we're gonna go home for the holidays.
So what are your plans after this tour? Do you have any plans to make more music, or go on another tour, or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, we're kind of on the brink of being able to make a lot of good decisions. We have a lot of people, like I said before, on a band's focus. We have a lot of people that want to be involved in what we're doing and kind of help it take it to the next level is what they always say. But at the same time, like I said, we're keeping them off to the side until it's solidified. So we plan on trying to, we hit pretty much every weekend in January, and then February we'll probably be back out for the whole month, and we're just going to keep pushing forward. And you know what makes touring really easy, in a sense, is having guys around you that make it fun to do so. And you know, I travel. My good friend Michael, who does a lot of the driving and tour managing responsibilities for us, and he protects me. Actually, the other night we were in where was that? The heckler. We had a heckler.
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. We had a heckler, and I walk up to the guy who's heckling me, and I start like rapping in his face, like pretending like I'm just like hot stuff, and I'm untouchable. This is how the story goes, is no one else saw that Michael, the guy who travels around with us and makes us feel safe, he's, you know, rotating to the back of the room and stands right behind the guy that I was rapping at, so that I knew, and I saw him in the corner of my eye, that if anything went down, he had my back. But everyone thought that I was pretty BA, because I was getting into this guy's grill. And so it's guys like that, and then we travel with another guy named Mark, and he does our lighting show, which, you know, sends the show to a whole other level. And Mark does a lot of video work for us. He has his own company called Real Bear Media, and any professionally done video of 21 Pilots is done by him, and he's got a great company. And so it's the four of us. It's me, Josh, Michael, and Mark, and we all just travel around, sleep in the van, and have a good time. And so we can't wait to, we don't want this to end, and so we can't wait to get back out once it's over. So, and then for plans, obviously, we're writing music all the time, and I'm convinced that we'll never stop writing music, even if I, you know, end up being a marketing director of some bank or something. I'm always going to write music, and there's something about not being able to that really gets to me. And so, yeah, as long as the band thing is continuing to go forward, and we have opportunities and people want to come alongside us and make it happen, there's always going to be new material. And what I can't wait is for people to see that new material is going to be completely unpredictable. And you're not going to be able to look at our past work and be like, this is what it's going to be like. We really like to throw curveballs, so we'll see how that goes.
Very cool. Now, if there's one thing that you guys have learned, you know, making this new album, Regional at Best, and previous album, and touring, and, you know, building a band from the ground up, what's like the most important thing you've learned? Is there something that's like been the most rewarding as a musician?
Yeah, I think I came on a little bit late, but I feel that I feel more ownership over this than I have in any other band or project I've been a part of, and so I would even say recently we played in our hometown. I think it was like a month ago. At a place called the Newport, and it's fairly large venue, and it actually sold out like to capacity of people. That in itself was, I think, it was an awesome feeling. But not only that, but I think what was cool, I think, you know, for Tyler and I, is that like kind of playing these songs and looking out and just realizing that just everybody that we look at was singing the words along. It's pretty. I just think it's such a cool feeling for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's just you'll never forget when someone, you know, you show up in Louisiana, and I've never been to Louisiana, and you show up and there's, you know, a handful of kids singing the words back at you. As someone who is, you know, kind of doing this whole tour travel thing for the first time, you start to really realize the power and the capabilities of the internet and of how easy it is for people to get hold of music. And that is one of the coolest things, that someone I don't know knows the song. You know, I'm used to, you know, my little brother being the only one who knows any song that I've ever done, and it's grown from people that I don't even have a relationship with, that have a relationship with the music. And that's when you start realizing that it's bigger than you as a person, and you're representing an entity as a band. And so that's the coolest feeling.
Very cool. I think that's about all the questions that I have. Thank you so much for coming to
Thanks
the
for
station.
having us. It was a lot of
Thanks.
fun.
And 21 Pilots, their brand new album, Regional at Best, in stores right now. And let's get back into the music right here on 91.3 FM, Real College Radio. That should be it.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.